Here. Like Jay said, we're going to talk a little bit about fueling for performance tonight. But first, I just wanted to take a second to say hello. I just started, I guess probably about a month ago, and we've been behind the scenes doing a lot of work to get everything ready for y'all. I know the word dietitian is kind of gross because it's diet in there, and I don't like that word either. And I know there's a lot of misconceptions about dietitians out there. I'm not the food police. I don't care, if you eat pizza or you drink beer or whatever. I'm not gonna come shaking my finger at you. I'm a human too, so I love all those good things as well. And the approach that I really take is from a health at every size standpoint. So what that basically means is there's not a one size fits all. There's not a one definition of health out there. So what works for me might not work for you and vice versa. So my job is to find out what works for you. So if you come see me for nutrition counseling, it's not gonna be like, okay, cool, you're like in program A, program B, program C. I really take the time to get to know you and what's going on in your world. And what you struggle with, what you might want to change, all that good stuff. And we come up with a plan that really works for you. So you're not going to be doing, the same thing that the person next to you is doing. It's all really individualized. I also work at a private practice a couple days a week. So I'll be here and there, both part-time. Been a dietitian for a couple years. Athletic background, I was not super athletic growing up. I started running about 7 or 8 years ago, and it took me, I looked back at my my little app the other day just to see where I started, and when I started it took me 3 months before I could run a mile without stopping, and now I run ultras for fun, so it's escalated quickly.
How many miles is that?
I did a 50K, so it was like 31 point. Yeah, so yeah. I always said, I just want to do a 5K, and then, then it was the next thing. So when I started here, I was like, I'm kind of close to doing a pull-up, and my husband was like, oh great, now you're going to try to do like 3,000 burpees, and I was like, why would you say that? And he reminded me of I'm just going to do a 5K talk, and I'm like, okay, fine. So as somebody that's really active, nutrition obviously is super important. So not only do I have the background with being a dietitian and going to school and having all the training, but I have the personal experience as well to bring to the table. So I created this little tip sheet for y'all to take home. I tried to think, what are the top 3 to 5 things that everybody, could really take home and start implementing today. And that's what I came up with on this sheet. So we're gonna kind of talk through that, and then I'm gonna save some time at the end for questions. I tried not to get super specific just because, it can get really complicated to really time everything right and that sort of thing. So I felt like these were some good tips, like I said, that everybody could kind of implement. So the first one is eat an adequate amount of calories. So if you feel hungry, that's because your body is telling you that it needs to eat. So if you are following any sort of program or diet or anything like that, and you're walking around constantly hungry throughout the day, that means you're not eating enough. Just like we feel the need to go to the bathroom, if we feel hunger, it's our body telling us, hey, I need more. So if you feel like you have to go to the bathroom, I'm guessing most of you act on that and you don't try to wait. It's the same thing with eating. The longer you wait to eat, the more ravenous you become, and the less likely you are to make good choices, the less likely you are to be able to stop eating when you're full because you're just so hungry. And this is something that I see a lot with athletes, is that kind of under eating, because you have maybe these calorie numbers in your head that you've heard, from maybe diets that you've done in the past or things that you've seen on the internet or that a friend's doing or whatever. So everybody has different needs, but just kind of generally speaking, if you're constantly hungry, you're not eating enough. Following the rest of these tips doesn't do a whole lot of good if you're not even eating enough. So that's kind of the base right there. The next one is prior to a workout, you should be consuming 1 to 4 grams of carbs, 1 to 4 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight. And that kind of goes with the timing of the workout. So if you're working out in 4 hours, you want 4 grams per kilogram of body weight. 3 hours, you want 3 grams per kilogram of body weight, and so on and so forth, down to that 1 hour. If it's less than 1 hour, you really want something that's super lightweight. So like Spam in a Monster, probably not the best like immediately before a workout choice. Molly posted jokingly, like, are we gonna talk about if gummy worms are an acceptable choice? And I was like, I mean, if you're working out in 30 minutes, it's not the best choice, but it's probably better than Spam and Monster. And it depends on the type of workout too. So that's what I meant when I said, you know, we can really go super, super deep into this. But I kind of want to brush the surface today. So basically the closer it gets to your workout, the less you want to be eating. And the lighter you want it to be. And everybody's body is a little bit different, right? So you might be able to get away with the Spam and the Monster, but yeah, but that, you know, that might not work for some other people. So it's really finding, you know, what works with you and playing around with it. But carbs are that main fuel that your body is using. So that's the most important one that you want to get in. If you have nothing else before a workout, definitely get some carbs in. Like I said, if it's under that hour mark, you know, 30 minutes to less, you really want to just stick with carbs. Like those applesauce pouches in there, those are a great, like, hey, I walked in the gym and I'm going to be working out in like 10 minutes kind of thing, just to top off the tank. What you're using for your fuel in your workout isn't necessarily what you just ate. It's more what you ate over the last 24 to 48 hours. So even if 2 days ago, maybe you kind of went through the drive-through and whatever, didn't have maybe the best meal that day, that's what you're gonna be using. So just something to kind of keep in mind. The point of that pre-workout fueling is to kind of top off the tanks, prevent that blood sugar from crashing, and really prevent hunger from getting you. Because if you've ever worked out hungry, it's not fun at all. The next tip is small to moderate amounts of protein are recommended before the workout as well. So that's anywhere from 7 to 20 grams of protein. And it's kind of the same concept as the carbohydrates. The closer it gets to the time of the workout, the less you want to have. So if it's 4 hours, you want to start, you know, maybe around that 20 mark. The closer you get, you know, you want to be closer to that 7 grams mark. That might be, you know, having some protein powder in a smoothie. It might be an egg, maybe a little bit of cheese, you know, whatever you kind of like to have right before your workout, but very small amounts. And having that little bit of protein also helps with keeping the blood sugar stable, because before workouts, our carbs are mostly those quick acting carbs, right? So we're having like the fruits, we're having dried fruit, we're having toast, you know, the things that are going through us kind of quickly. So adding a little bit of protein to it definitely helps to keep things more stable. Just like with the carbs though, the closer it gets, you might find that you don't tolerate protein very well. So I know, like for me, I'll have like just a banana. If it's a longer run or I'm up earlier, which I'm usually not gonna wake up any earlier because I normally run at 5 in the morning. So I'm getting up at like the last minute possible. It's usually just straight carbs because I know that my stomach cannot handle anything more than that. So again, it's very customizable. It's all what you can handle, but these are kind of good guidelines to help you get there. Staying hydrated. So if your workout is less than 60 minutes, you're likely fine. You know, you very likely don't need like a Gatorade or any other sort of sports drink like that. You really don't need any additional carbs or anything like that either if it's under 60 minutes. Once you get over that 60-minute mark, that's where, you know, some sort of a sports drink, a little snack, depending on what you're doing, can come into play. For the purposes of what we do in here, I didn't go too far on that because this is all pretty much 60 minutes and under. If you are, though, a really salty sweater, me, and a really heavy sweater, me again, you might need to add some electrolytes. So Gatorade is gonna have carbs and electrolytes. That's why I really like products like Noon, like the little tablets you can just pop in your water. So if you know that you're a really salty sweater, those are a really great thing to add, even if the workout is under 60 minutes. I pretty much have one with every workout because I know I'm gonna sweat my face off. And they prevent things like cramps, headaches, all that sort of stuff that's not really fun.
Especially in here in the summer.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I saw somebody posted a little sweat angel or whatever the other day. I'm like, oh, it's happening already. It's coming. Immediately after a workout, you want to aim for about 0.75 to 1.5 grams of carbs per kilogram and 20 to 30 grams of protein. So ideally, we're gonna see that in the first 2 hours. That's when that recovery window is at its optimal. The more you can get in quicker, the better that's gonna help with rebuilding those muscles that you just broke down in that workout, and just help your recovery in general. A lot of times after a hard workout, we don't feel like eating right away, right? So there are definitely options out there if you're not feeling like you're too hungry. So things like the ready-made protein shakes. Core Power is one of my favorites. Just ready to go. It tastes like chocolate milk. It has 26 grams of protein and I think around the same amount of carbs. You can add protein to a smoothie, something like that. Or if you want, a full-on meal, let's say maybe you had an early morning workout and you want some breakfast, something like a bagel with eggs, maybe a little avocado, some side of fruit. That would kind of help meet those. I know, I'm getting hungry thinking about it. I have kids, so this is like, I would have already ate dinner and I'm like getting in my pajamas, so I'm thinking about dinner. So yeah, if you can tolerate a full-blown meal within that 2-hour window, that's definitely the best. But again, if it's a really intense workout, or it was really hot or whatever, and you're just not feeling up to it, at least get something in. So like I said, those ready-made things are smoothies, yogurt, things like that. They've got both carbs and protein that are really easy to digest. And just kind of quick. I know it says on there immediately, so I don't want you to think like, okay, as soon as I put the weights down, like I've got to start chugging something. Like I said, really it's that 2-hour window. If you are not doing multiple workouts that day, like let's say it's just a normal day and you've got your one workout, then you're going to work or whatever, the 2-hour window is still really important, but it is less important if that was your only big bout of exercise for the day. So what really, really matters in that situation is just the total for the day. So at the end of the day that you got enough protein, you got enough carbs, you got enough fat. There's definitely benefit to the 2-hour window, but don't panic, if you can't get it in that 2 hours. But again, that's where those ready-made things can kind of come in handy. Like I grabbed one of the Core Powers today before I left because I was like, well, I know I got to drive home after I do this and then work out. So I'm going to definitely be hungry and want something. So yeah, the 2-hour window is super important, especially if you have multiple events. If you don't have multiple events in one day, really that total, at the end of the day is the most important. And then prioritizing sleep. So this is a big one. All of the other things on this list, including eating enough calories, don't matter too much if you're not getting enough sleep. There's a lot of good studies out there that show how harmful not getting enough sleep is on our performance. And obviously things like jobs or 5:15 workouts, might make that hard to do. So sometimes you have to make the harder choice of turning Netflix off. It'll still be there tomorrow. Maybe you have kids and 7 to 9 hours isn't a thing that you've seen in a long time. The cool thing about sleep though is that you can kind of bank it up, right? So maybe you had a rough night with your kids or you stayed up a little too late or you logged into SugarWOD and saw the workout for the next day and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And you got a really bad sleep. You can bank it up throughout the week. So even if it's just a little 5-10 minute cat nap here or there, maybe on the weekend you can get a little extra sleep, things like that. Having that sleep even in that bank makes it, whenever you're low on the sleep, you can kind of use those reserves. So any little opportunities you can find to sneak in there definitely help with that. I did write down some examples for some pre-workout meals because I didn't want to have to do the math in my head when I stood up here in front of all of y'all. So for example, if we have a 154-pound athlete, The way we determine kilograms from pounds is dividing it by 2.2. So pretty easy. 70 kilograms is that 154 pound athlete. So 4 hours prior, we'd take that 70 kilograms times 4. So that's 280 grams of carbs. Like, that's a lot, right? Like, yeah, that seems like a lot. Yeah, that's a great day right there. It's a great day. But if you are doing, an intense workout, that is what your body needs. And again, as it goes down, as it gets closer, you need less. So an example of that would be like a bagel, 2 ounces of turkey breast, 12 ounces of orange juice, a cup of yogurt, banana, and some Gatorade. You're probably like, she's telling us to drink juice. And yeah, when you need that many grams of carbs, whenever, it's a lot in one meal, drinking your carbs is absolutely a great strategy to utilize. Because again, that's a lot of carbs in one meal. But your body's gonna use it, you need it. So getting it in there any way you can. So 1 hour prior, so we're just multiplying that 70 by 1 now. So we've got 70 grams of carbohydrates. So that might be like a banana and some Gatorade. A little more realistic, right? So that is if you're doing less than 60 minutes, no more than that 1 gram per kg, but really if it's less than 60 minutes, whatever you can tolerate. So like I said, I have a banana, a spoonful of honey, one of those applesauce pouches. As it gets closer, liquids tend to be better tolerated as well. So something like a sports drink. In that case, like the Noon wouldn't be the best choice because there are no carbohydrates in it. So you would want more something like a UCAN or a Gatorade, products that do have the carbohydrates in them, since that's your primary fuel. And then all of those things have electrolytes in them as well, which will be really helpful when you make your sweat angels, when you come to your workout or you do your long run or whatever workout you're doing. So those were the big things that I wanted to touch on. And then I wanted to leave some time for y'all to ask any questions you had on fueling for performance. So yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
I haven't met yet.
I know.
I'm Joey.
Nice to meet you.
I was keying in on a few things that you mentioned today.
Yeah.
You mentioned like avocado and cheese and carbohydrates.
A taco would be a great pre-workout. Yeah. Or post. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not calling it a superfood.
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
Yeah, I think it is. I think I read a recent article talking about how it was a superfood. So, yeah. It was on Dr. Oz, maybe? I don't, or maybe it was like an Instagram influencer. I can't remember for sure. But yes, it is a superfood.
Okay.
You heard it here. Also, I'm not on any team, so I'm not. What's up? Oh, God.
So for in here, classes are an hour long, but the high intensity portion is probably on average 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Are we talking like what type of carb situation are we talking giving that versus like
It's an hour of high intensity?
Run,
Yeah.
Like what is that?
I would say probably cut it in half then, like if you're saying, only like half of that class-ish is gonna be more high intensity, then like cut that number in half. If it's 60 minutes of high intensity, then that's when you wanna do that.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah?
So I typically do morning classes.
Mhm.
Because if I go after work, I cramp up and I feel like I'm going to be
Yeah.
And so I've thought that working out on an empty stomach is the only way that I can approach it, and it's better for my day.
Yeah.
So what should I eat before or drink before I come that would help me? I mean, I never feel
Yeah.
lightheaded or I don't feel hungry, but maybe that's contributing to the fact that I can't
Maybe. What time are you normally getting up? Like how much time do you have from wake up till the workout?
This morning I woke up at 4:30.
Okay. So you've got,
To take care of as well.
okay.
I can't be like cooking eggs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say, honestly, if it's that soon, then yeah, you do really just want to rely more on the carbs. If you want to have a little bit of protein, you know, like a little bit of a protein shake, or like if you made a smoothie the night before and you put some protein powder in there so that it is something that's kind of quick and easy to grab. And the liquid will be a little easier on your stomach that close too. But, you know, really something like a banana or like one of those applesauce pouches might do the trick too. And you might be surprised, because I used to work out on an empty stomach in the morning too, just because waking up and, you know, taking food to the face like at 5 a.m. as soon as you step out of bed was a little aggressive. But you get used to it. I literally, alarm goes off, take 10 steps, grab banana, eat it, and then get ready to go. So the earlier you can eat it, like if you can do it as soon as you wake up, definitely better. But if you only have, you know, 30, 45 minutes, really just keeping it to carbs is probably your best bet, but play around with it. You know, like I said, everyone's different. You might find that like, oh my God, I feel like I can lift, I can do those push-ups, like it feels so much better. Or you might feel like my stomach is killing me, I'm not doing this again. But just like training your body to exercise, you have to train your body with fueling too. So like, don't do that on, you know, your first workout of the open or, you know, anything like that. You want to practice it, you know, in your training as well, leading up to any big events that you might be doing. That's a really good question.
Serious question.
It's hard to be serious now.
Anything you say.
Right?
Seriously. So you mentioned carbs a lot. All this.
I love
think
them.
that there's a misconception about good carbs, bad carbs.
Yeah.
Does carbs mean bread?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
It could also mean taco shells or tortillas, if that's what you're trying to get at. So yes, good carbs, bad carbs. So if you're eating, I would say about 2 hours or less before a workout, you really want to keep it pretty low fiber. So that means those things that are good carbs, like whole grain bread, quinoa, brown rice, that sort of stuff, might cause some upset in your stomach if you're eating it too close to a workout. So things like fiber and fat are kind of like #1 culprits for causing GI distress during a workout. So if it's like 2 hours or less, yeah, like white bread, fruit, you know, like just quick, easy digesting carbs. It's not the time to like go whole grain crazy, because you're probably going to pay for it later. Afterwards, absolutely. But beforehand, really sticking with those lower fiber carbohydrates.
So there's carbs in fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fruit is carbs, yep.
Okay.
But it's not like added, you know what I mean? Like it's not like a cookie where it's like, yes, the flour is carbs, but then we've also got a lot of sugar added to it. Like the fruit is just, your body loves those carbs, those natural carbohydrates. So things like fruits, grains, your starchy vegetables, your milk has carbohydrates in it. So they're everywhere for a reason, because that's our body's preferred source of fuel. So yeah, that's a good question. Any other questions?
I'll float one to keep us going. I noticed the macro missing, or that you sort of just touched on, being fat.
Fat.
So where does that fit into the puzzle here?
So fat doesn't play a huge role in fueling for performance. If we're talking about fueling for training, which is kind of like the more general, like creating an athlete's plate, that sort of thing, absolutely. So that's why I didn't include it on there. Pre-workout, like I said, you want to keep it pretty light. That fat takes the longest to digest, so it goes carbs, protein, and then fat. So the more you have in your stomach when you're doing a workout, the more likely you are to have some of those not so fun GI issues. So pre-workout, I would say the same with the fiber. Like if it's 2 hours or less, like pretty low fat. Afterwards, totally fine. Eat like you normally would. There's not really much research out there that I'm aware of that has like optimal timing for fat right after the workout. But just it's one of those like, you know, at the end of the day, make sure you're getting enough of the fat. And if you have multiple workouts in a day, I would say fat probably isn't something you want to be eating in between your workouts. Just like I said, it sits heavy on your stomach. It's not going to leave you feeling too good. But afterwards, absolutely.
How do you feel about those pre-workouts that have all those crazy vitamins that you don't know what they are and
Yeah.
shake a little bit.
Yeah. So there's some crazy ones out there. I really like UCAN. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's got a really good source of kind of quickly digesting carbohydrates. It's got a couple different sources of carbohydrates too, which is nicer for longer endurance type things, because they'll take, some of them will digest quickly, others will take a little bit longer, so it's not just kind of all at one time. But the ones that have, a million different ingredients and have a ton of caffeine and that sort of stuff, it's just sketchy. You don't really know what you're getting. The FDA does not regulate supplements, which means any kind of supplement thing that you get at a store or online, it could not contain what it says it contains. So you could get a supplement that's full of like sawdust, and it's totally legal. There are a few things you can look for. There's the USP seal. It's like a little shield on the front. And that means that it was tested and it does contain the ingredients listed on the label in the amounts listed on the label. But otherwise, it's just, you don't really know what you're getting. So I would much rather see you fueling with real food, but in situations where maybe your stomach's not gonna permit that or you're short on time, like I said, I like the UCAN product for like a pre-workout. That's my one of choice, but definitely be careful with it. If you ever have questions on them, definitely ask me, shoot me an email, whatever, so you're not getting the shakies there.
So when it comes to diet changes, I know people usually expect like some sort of immediate result, be it favorable or unfavorable to them. So using like Chelsea's example of, say she wants to start trying to eat before her workout.
Yeah.
She tries it one time and her stomach doesn't agree with it or for whatever reason. She's tempted to not do that anymore. She thinks it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of like lag time or kind of experimental period that we should allow ourselves?
I would say at least give it a week or two. I mean, if it's like really bad, then you might want to try something else. Like I had a really sensitive stomach with working out, so that's how I kind of started playing around with different fueling options. And the less stuff that is in something, so the more just like, hey, it's just this little amount of carbohydrates, the less likely you are to experience those symptoms. So like things like the Perfect bars, like I love those. Like I could probably live on those, but pre-workout, like it's not a great choice, So it's kind of, it gets tough because like with the carbohydrate question, it's like, well, these foods are healthy, but like right before a workout, they're not your best choice, So it's really kind of learning what your body can tolerate because everybody's so different. But I would say like a week or two would probably be a good length of time.
What's your thought on like caffeine pre workout?
Yeah, so caffeine is fine. It doesn't necessarily give you more energy. It more prevents you from being tired in a workout. So I think caffeine, if you can tolerate it, and if you don't get those shakies, then it's great.
It also lowers your rate of perceived exertion.
It does, yeah.
So it feels like you're working less hard.
Yeah.
Good.
That means like 1 cup, not like not like the whole pot.
Cake stand.
Yeah, no coffee cake stands, but like 1 cup of coffee, that's totally fine. Or if you have if your pre-workout thing or something has caffeine in it, that's fine. Again, it's it's all what your body can tolerate. So yeah, if you're used to doing that, then yeah, caffeine's great. Any other questions, comments, or any just dietitian questions in general, like anything about what I do, what the nutrition stuff is going to look like up here, or anything?
Can we talk to you without having to buy a package?
So it's kind of like the same as personal training. If it's something that's kind of like a quick and I can answer it in a couple minutes and it's not, this big in-depth conversation, absolutely. Like I said, if you have a question about, a supplement or something that's really quick, if it's something that is going to take more than just a couple minutes, then yeah, we would definitely want to sit down and chat and get set up with sessions.
Question. I've heard like so many different ideas of how much water you should be having. Is there a magic water number, or is that sort of like intuitive?
Yeah, so there's not a magic water number. The general guideline is, that 8 ounces, cups of water every day. Your urine color is the best indicator. If it is darker, dehydrated. If it's the color of water, probably a little overhydrated. So really kind of that pale yellow is where you want to be. If you're feeling thirsty, you're probably already a little bit dehydrated, like I feel right now. So staying on top of it, like that thing, where did it even go? I take it with me everywhere. Like I went to pick up my groceries yesterday. They were ordered. I was driving there to pick them up. So like a 5-minute round trip, and I took the water with me. So getting in the habit of carrying it with you. But yeah, there's a lot of like, you should be drinking a gallon or 2 gallons or whatever. And I actually had a friend ask me about that the other day, and she's like, I have like really bad headaches and I'm shaky. I'm like, you're probably overhydrated. So urine color, definitely the best indicator, knowing that, hey, whenever you're, sweating heavy and things like that in the summertime, typically we need a little bit more. But yeah, urine colors is your best bet.
Anything else, team?
Yeah.
Specifically in the context of fueling for the Open or any other competition,
Yeah.
is there a recommendation for like your fruit intake and just like natural sugars that you're going to be enjoying?
So fruit, you said, was the, okay. Yeah. So with, the athlete's plate that I know y'all have talked about in here before, the general recommendation is about 1/4 of your plate being carbohydrates. So that's what the fruit would fall under. So not necessarily a certain amount of servings, but just, at each meal, keeping whatever you're having that's carbohydrates to about 1/4. Now that is not going to happen every meal, every day. If it's a hard workout day, you're going to need more. So that is like a very